It is a mailed-in edition of Overdrive. Mark Rowe once again in for Brian Hayes alongside Dave Feschuk from the Toronto Star. Although it's kind of tough to call today a mail-it-in edition of Overdrive when we have it's a very Olympic-themed show, and mailing it in and being an Olympian isn't exactly going hand in hand, is it?
No, Olympians do not mail it in.
And you don't mail it in. You're always working.
I try not to mail it in. But if it's not mail it in Friday, Mark, it feels like it's missed the cut Friday over at the Open Championship, because the name's missing the cut at Royal Troon. Not small names.
We thought yesterday was a tough day.
Yeah. Like, we were talking about some guys that were at the top of the betting odds pre-tournament list that are not going to be playing on the weekend in Royal Troon.
Well, McIlroy was the second favorite to win the tournament.
Right.
And today wasn't any better than yesterday.
He's gone.
I guess no one's really shocked that Tiger Woods finishes at plus 14, a 79 and a 77, and we'll see you later.
But he shouldn't feel too bad, because he's at plus 14. So is Sahith Theegala, who a lot of people had tabbed as a favorite. Wyndham Clark, a recent U.S. Open champion, at plus 16. I mean, you're talking about like that Gordon Sargent, who top amateur, plus 13. We are talking about Cam Smith, plus 12. McIlroy, plus 11. Man, the list is long.
Well, how about Justin Thomas, who had a great round yesterday, was only a few shots off the lead, and then comes out. He's 2 under on the back nine today. That's the positive, and that saves essentially his ability to play tomorrow. But that followed up a 45 on the front nine.
Amazing.
We can all relate to putting a 45 or worse after nine. Maybe not at Royal Troon. It'd be a lot worse than that. But there you have it. Like, some days it's like, I got this course figured out, and other days, you got doubles and triples on the scorecard.
Well, we were talking to Rex Hoger yesterday from Royal Troon, and as much as we were praising Justin Thomas, and we were asking Rex about Thomas's great first round, where he found himself near the top of the leaderboard. And Rex was like, well, we need to see more, because we've seen him have one really good round followed up by one really dismal round, a la the 62 he shot at the Scottish Open, which was succeeded by a fall off of major proportions. And here we had it. But man, it's just a very difficult place to play golf today. I mean, look at all these guys missing the cut. You got Ludwig Oberg, who was among the favorites to win here. He's gone at plus 9. You've got Tommy Fleetwood, another guy that a lot of people have tabbed as a potential Open Championship winner, given his, he's an Englishman who grew up playing links golf. He's plus 9. DeChambeau, who I thought should have been one of the favorites to win this thing, given his performance at Pinehurst, number 2. He didn't even come close. He's at plus 9. He's out of there. A lot of trunk slamming going on at the Royal Troon Oceanside course there, and it's quite a battle.
Well, why don't we hear from Tiger Woods following his round? And this has been an all too familiar scene where he made. Okay, we don't have that clip, but he makes the cut at the Masters, but has been missing more cuts than he's actually making, and he's only playing the majors, so that success rate is not very high.
Oh, it's very tough. I mean, ultimately, to expect Tiger to contend at these tournaments against the world's best players who are playing on a regular basis is unrealistic. I mean, he, as good as he is, and those of us who've seen him in his prime, want to believe he has another gear, that's sort of superhuman gear that we saw him kick in en route to his 15 majors. He's just not that guy anymore.
Yeah.
And, the fact that it was chilly, the fact that it was, even though it was flat, it didn't help him. I mean, we all know about the bones that rattle on that 48-year-old body that's been surgically repaired umpteen times in umpteen different ways. It's difficult to imagine a moment where he's going to be able to rediscover whatever he's got left. I still want to believe it can be there, because watching him practice at the Masters, as I've done in the last couple of years, like, you can see he still has these magical hands and this incredible ability to navigate a golf ball around those greens at Augusta. Whether or not he can actually hit a ball consistently enough and have the stamina to stick around for 72 holes, let alone 36, is the question. And I'm not sure. He says he's getting better year over year since the 2021 accident. I think that's probably true. He certainly has looked better this year, but as age 50 approaches, the senior tour is in the distance. You wonder what he's got left.
Yeah, and how much he wants to play on that Champions Tour. And Bob Weeks is going to join us at 4:30, so we'll get more into Tiger and the Open Championship. And by the way, Shane Lowry is leading. I don't know if we probably buried the fact that he had another great day on the course. Corey Connors is the top Canadian. He's tied for 7th at 1 under par, and he was the Canadian that most people thought had the best chance at competing given his game and given his recent play as well. So we'll have much more on Royal Troon and the Open Championship when Bob joins us. Bianca Andreescu is going to join us in just a couple of minutes. We're a week away from the Olympics, and it's coming around. I feel like because the last Olympics were because dealing with COVID, and then the Summer Olympics before that were Rio, and there was a lot of issues with the infrastructure in Brazil. It's almost, for the most part, been kind of business as usual. If that makes any sense with the Olympics. We all know about the business side of the Olympics, but the pollution with the Seine River was a big topic. The Paris mayor wanted to squash all those issues by swimming herself in it, so good on her, I guess. But other than that, we've just been focused on the games. Canada's playing France right now, so we'll keep updating that in men's basketball. But you looking forward to the Summer Games?
I am. Yeah, I mean, it's this should be a really fun one, right? Because you're right. Like the last couple of Olympics, the Tokyo Games that were the 2022 Tokyo, or the 2020 Tokyo Games, which actually took place in 2021, they were a COVID games. There was basically a bubble around the athletes, a bubble around the city. You really couldn't enjoy the city when you went to the city in the way you'd like to, which is kind of the point of the Olympics for the athletes and everybody that goes, from fans to media alike. Then you had the Winter Olympics that preceded that, which were in a Beijing, which were essentially in a cage. Like that was this very strict bubble.
Yeah.
And you were threatened with expulsion from the country if you took a step outside of it. So this is like back to being the spirit of what the Olympics should be in, I'm sure, a heavily fortified Paris, because we all know what the security budgets at these events these days stretches into the billions, unfortunately, because that's just the world we live in. But it does figure to be, for me anyways, it figures to be a real refreshing Olympics where we get back to kind of the feeling of what they can be and what they should be.
Well, and so much of the games is not just the competition, but the visuals and the energy. And in Tokyo, we had great stories. Women's soccer winning gold, Andre DeGrasse, Damian Warner in track. But and the fact that they had the stands set up because they were always hopeful that some fans would be allowed, but they were empty. And it literally looked like a ghost town other than the competitors and the organizers. And Tokyo is this beautiful city, and the locations that held games looked great, except for the fact that we were just missing human beings.
That was the thing. I remember covering a lot of the events there in Tokyo, and it was the only people that really went to cheer were the other members of the team.
Yeah.
Right? So you'd get other members of Team Canada going up to cheer Team Canada at these events. But it was, it was like a chorus of a dozen voices in a largely empty stadium, right? And didn't really kind of reverberate the way you'd hope it would. Yeah. If you were competing in a fully packed stadium at the biggest moment of your competitive career as an athlete, or one of them. For the athletes, I think it's going to be a welcome return to what should be the proper way to conduct an Olympics.
And no issues with venues either. I think they've only built 2 venues for the games because they have the infrastructure. And when you go to a city like Paris, that's the luxury that you have. And for tennis in particular, kind of like with London, you have the All England Club sitting there. In Paris, you have Roland Garros, one of the 4 majors of the year, and that's where the sport's going to be contested. And it just gives, I don't know if you need anything more when it comes to the Olympics, but it's pretty special when it's at Roland Garros. And Joining us now on Overdrive is someone I've had the privilege of covering throughout her career, especially in New York, having a few conversations with her on court after some big wins, especially one over Serena Williams back in 2019. She's a U.S. Open champion, and now she is an Olympian. Bianca Andreescu joins us on Overdrive. Bianca, thanks so much for taking some time to chat with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Good times.
Great times, and looking forward to more great times ahead. And just describe what the emotions are like. You're about a week away now from making your Olympic debut. It should have happened 3 years ago. I know you were disappointed, but here you are. You're going to be competing in Paris. What's going through your emotions at the moment?
Yeah, no, I mean, this year I made it a priority to make it. 2021 obviously wasn't meant to be, but yeah, I'm obviously super excited playing for Canada. It means so much for me. Canada in general, and obviously Tennis Canada, they have done so much for me. So this is kind of like something that I can repay everyone with in a way.
So Bianca, obviously a very specific venue here. The city of Paris is, obviously awaiting the arrival of the athletes. I know that people are trickling in. We're expecting a spectacular opening ceremony, but the tennis is played at a very familiar place in Roland Garros. Yeah. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think it benefits me in a way because, I guess everybody too, because we've played in that stadium before. So in a way, it's kind of a similar vibe, I would say. I really love the clay. I feel like it's getting up there on one of my favorite surfaces. I know I've been doing well on grass, but I'm really hoping that I can start to embrace the clay a little bit more. But I love playing at the French Open, and obviously being in Paris is always a good time.
And that's the tricky thing for everyone is you're going from the clay season to the abbreviated grass court season. You're just at Wimbledon. You'll go back to clay, then you'll play hard court. What is the toughest part of making all those transitions in such a tight kind of period of time?
Yeah, I know. I know a lot of players have decided obviously to pull out because of that transition. But for me, Olympics is super important. I mean, every tournament is a priority, but Olympics, you only get it every 4 years, right? So I really want to, put that as my number one in a way. And I've been training for the past 2 weeks. I've had some good results lately. So I'm feeling really confident.
That's great. Hey, Bianca, I know people remember so fondly the 2019 run you had, and you were at the height of your powers. You were a new face on the tour. And I've read some comments you made recently about how back then no one really knew who you were. And so you could just go out there and play and you sort of let it fly, for lack of a better term. Now that you're more heavily scouted, people know your game. I mean, how do you adjust to that over these handful of years? I know you've battled injury, but in terms of the strategy side, like how are you adjusting to the idea that you're a known quantity now and you've got to deal with that?
Yeah, it's definitely different times for sure. But I feel like I've been working really hard on finding that identity for myself on and off the court. And the past few weeks, it's been working. I know I've had a lot of, but if I can find that, identity with all the mixtures, the drop shot, the slices, and really being confident in that. And even though, people know how I play, if I can do that really well, I don't think it matters.
Bianca, it's so funny. Just as you said, drop shot, we showed the drop shot that you hit against Serena in that short final in Toronto before she retired. And the ball almost took like a 90-degree angle because you hit it with so much spin, which it was like perfect. It was almost like you knew that you were going to play that. So, which brings me to the National Bank Open. The women will be playing in Toronto. The men will be in Montreal. I know how special it is for you to play at that tournament, and you're one of the headliners. Just describe what that is like for you. It's not new anymore, but I'm sure it doesn't get old getting to play in front of fans and family and our friends and family and the entire nation cheering you on.
Yeah, playing in Toronto obviously has a very special place in my heart. I grew up on those courts, so being back means a lot. And, with how I've been playing, I have big hopes, and I'm really hoping to lift that trophy again.
And I just wanted to go with the hopes and the expectations because you've now played 4 tournaments since the back injury that cost so much time over the last couple of years. going off of those performances, you reach a final in the Netherlands, third round at Roland Garros and Wimbledon, where you end up having to face the, Jasmine Paolini, who goes to the final. What have those performances done for now your expectations as you try to gauge where your game is at and what you can expect from yourself moving forward this season?
Yeah, for me, the past 10 months have really showed a lot. I know I always say that with every break, let's say, that I take, but it's really true. I try not to take it as a negative. I always try to see the positive in everything, and I've worked on myself a lot. And the new mindset that I'm going in with is, making that choice of really wanting to be there and be on the court. The past few years have kind of been on and off for me a little bit, but having that confidence in, wanting to wake up every day and train, and, compete for my country every single tournament that I play is a true gift. And it's a true blessing that I finally have that, that confidence, and obviously having fun on the court and playing my game style. And like I said before, I feel like I'm finally finding that identity for myself again. And I really believe that it can go a long ways. And, once you do something, like I have in 2019, it's always in the back of your head, where it's like, I know I can do it again. It's just, I guess the question is when. So I'm hoping sooner than later.
Yeah, for sure, Bianca. And speaking to a lot of athletes over the years, Bianca, I've covered a lot of Olympic games, and there's always this common sort of variations of, it's great to be an athlete, but it's another thing to be an Olympian. Like, it's special to be an Olympian, and I'm wondering, like, why is that? If that's true for you, why is that? And what is it about the experience beyond the tennis and getting up to train and playing on those clay courts at Roland Garros? What is it about the experience maybe that you're looking forward to, like in terms of maybe meeting other athletes or living in the village? Like, how are you looking at it in that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, there have been so many stories told about how great the Olympics is, and being an Olympian, how an amazing accomplishment that is, right? Like, it only happens 4 years, and it's not just tennis. Like, you have every sport in the entire world and all nations. And that opening ceremony for me, I think, is the main thing that I'm looking forward to, and obviously meeting other athletes, but just being in that environment and also with Team Canada is something that I'm also looking forward to as well. I think for me, it's something so special because I know I always play for my country, but Olympics, in a way, it's like you're playing for your country times 100. That's what people describe it as. So that's what I'm hoping to feel when I'm there. I know I'm, in a way, playing at the French Open, site. And I know it'll be a little bit different. People have been telling me already because they're already there. But yeah, I just hope to feel that for myself.
And you get to do it with fellow Canadians who obviously well, and maybe that's not unique because every sport you're in a tight group, but Felix is the same age as you. You guys grew up in the system. Milos was someone who did a lot for Canadian tennis, and I know that you looked up to him. Gabby Dabrowski, Leila Annie Fernandez. What's it like to share this experience with all of them?
Yeah, they're amazing tennis players, and they've done so many amazing things. So it'll be nice to really be in that, I guess, intimate group to really talk one-on-one, because the tennis season can get quite hectic and busy, and, players are playing at different times. So it's not always easy to, I guess, have that one-on-one time. So that's what I'm really hoping for in the next 2 weeks.
Well, Bianca, I'm going to leave you with a hard-hitting question because a lot of people would bug me when I'm there at the U.S. Open and they want to know stuff like, about Coco or about your parents.
My gosh, okay. There you go.
And one of the questions that I got that I ended up asking you was, you always have the headphones on, like a lot of players, and they all want to know, what is she listening to? Like, it was like the state secret, and I think it was Hot Girl Summer back in 2019.
Yeah.
What are you listening to now that gets you excited to play these matches? Or calms you down? I don't know, one or the other.
Yeah. It really depends on the vibe, but usually before my matches, I like to listen to something that really hypes me up. But it's funny that you mentioned Hot Girl Summer because I started listening to that again because I wanted to get back into that 2019 mindset. So definitely that. And I've been listening to a lot of Jay-Z and Linkin Park. Let's go with Numb. Or Encore.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like those ones.
Okay. Well, we'll have maybe that could be your intro music to.
It could be. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah. And since Mark mentioned it, I think the other huge hard hitting question that needs to be asked is, how is Coco?
Yeah, I was waiting for that one. But I love talking about my dog. We actually went on a little boat cruise today, and she absolutely loved it. I thought she hated the water, but she was trying to jump in like all the time, which I was really shocked about, but she enjoyed it. My parents enjoyed it. And she'll be coming to the Olympics, actually. Wow, hopefully she'll be able to. Yeah. So first experience for her. How about that?
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope that she can obviously come to my matches, and then throughout the hard court season, she'll be there too. She's like, my little mascot.
It's funny what the audience reacts to because of all the interviews I did with Bianca, a impromptu conversation we had on court about our dogs, which I wasn't sure if my bosses were like, change it to the other subject. We don't care about your dog.
I know.
And we
move it on, please.
Yeah,
but people love that stuff. And it's relatable, right?
Yeah, I had so many people that are like, I love that dog conversation you had with Bianca. I'm like, what about the fact that she just moved on to the quarterfinal? Whatever. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, Bianca, best of luck in Paris, in Toronto, in New York, and the rest of the season. We're looking forward to you competing and representing Canada proudly, as you always do.
Thank you. And hope to speak before then.
Yes.
And hopefully, I'm raising that trophy above my head or wearing that gold medal. Let's go, baby.
How about both?
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bianca. All the best. There you have it. Bianca Andreescu getting set for Paris 2024. Her first Olympics, which I almost had to remind myself that she wasn't in Tokyo because she was dealing with some injuries, and I almost have to go back and why did certain players not play because of COVID and stuff? And but it's like you say, it's different. It is. You can always, once she plays, regardless of how well she does, you can always say she's an Olympian, and it's different. Like you're going to run into Andre DeGrasse, or you're going to run into Summer McIntosh, and you're going to have those conversations. Like you heard that a lot with the Winter Olympics. Sidney Crosby and the men's hockey team, the same thing, where it was like we're in Canada House and we're just hanging out with other athletes. Like it's such a unique experience that, as she points out, you only get every 4 years, and you're lucky to get it once.
You're lucky to get it once. I mean, she was supposed to go to Tokyo and it didn't happen, right? And you're never guaranteed another trip there, and neither is your dog. So
no, I know.
Let's hope Coco appreciates it too.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if I assume the Olympics actually does it because the U.S. Open, Coco had a credential.
Oh yeah.
It's.
Yeah, I don't know if the IOC has gotten to the dog credential stage yet. They're progressive, but they're not that progressive. So we'll have to look into that more.
Well, Coco's got to clear security, as you know. It's.
Well, I noticed Bianca said, I hope she can be there for our matches. You can't assume anything in this security environment.
Yeah, you have to you have to look through the history of Coco, and if Coco's on probation for anything.
That's right.
It's like, we saw you did an accident at this venue the last time that you were at Roland Garros, so I'm not sure we want you.
Although Paris is kind of famous for people walking their dogs down the street.
Yeah, that's true.
Unfortunately, not picking up their dog's business on the street.
Oh,
that's
really?
Kind of one of the defining characteristics of Paris and the times I've been there.
Okay.
It's people just their dog's poop doesn't stink, apparently.
No, it doesn't. It's Parisian poop.
That's right.
Yeah.
So high-class poop.
Someone who's a proud dog owner is Andy Petrillo. Speaking of the Olympics, she's going to be hosting CBC's primetime coverage. She's also going to join us at 6:05. I bugged her earlier this afternoon with a text message, and she was like, "Can you stop bugging me?"
Yes, she's prepping.
If Olympics is not in the subject line, I'm sorry, I'm not going to respond to you. But she did respond to us in our request, and she will join us in the 6 o'clock hour. Keegan Matheson's going to join us at 5:05. The Blue Jays kicking off a series against the Tigers tonight. And coming up next in studio, our guy Bob Weeks, as we recap round 2 of the Open Championship from Royal Troon as OverDrive continues on TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. Overdrive continuing on TSN 1050, the TSN app, and up on TSN 4. Mark Rowan for Brian Hayes alongside Dave Feschuk, and we're joined in studio. Must be a major going on by our golf analyst, Bob Weeks.
Yeah, if we're not at the major, we're doing a lot of work in the studio. It actually feels good to be back in the studio. I haven't been here for so long.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you here.
Thanks.
No delays, no technical issues, no bad phones. Brian Hayes would really appreciate that because he's not we know what he likes, a bad phone line, but he's a stickler for that. And as I'm looking at the leaderboard, we have 10 players under par. Has it been as tough as you expected? Has it been tougher? Has it been? I can't imagine it's been easier.
No, the Open is always tough, and when the weather comes in, like it's come in for the last 2 days, it's really, it's really harsh. Mm. It was harsh in two ways. Once the velocity of the wind and everything that was going in and the rain, and it was in a different direction than all the practice rounds. So these guys really had trouble sort of picking the right clubs. And some of the numbers I'm hearing, like Mackenzie Hughes was telling me that he hit a 305-yard 4-iron today on one hole, obviously downwind. And in some of the ones into the wind, he's hitting driver like 250, 260. So
wow.
You kind of throw the yardage book out, but you can see the guys in the rough hacking it out. I mean, you got to stay somehow in the fairway, but it's tough when that wind blows like that.
So Shane Lowry leading at -7. Bob, Daniel Brown at 5 under alongside Justin Rose, 2 Englishmen tied for second. Let's focus on the guys who will not be playing the weekend, though. Okay. I mean, Rory McIlroy obviously is the one that jumps off the page. We were all wondering how he would respond to the disappointment that was the U.S. Open, where it'll probably be remembered him giving away the tournament with a couple of short misses that allowed Bryson DeChambeau to walk through the door. What did you make of Rory?
I was surprised. I actually thought he would come back, and listening to him in the pre-tournament press conferences, I thought he was going to come in and play really, really well, at least be in the conversation. I just think right now it's time for him to kind of just step away from golf for a little bit. He's probably not going to because he's got some tournaments still to play, obviously. But I would have thought now that what we saw here is, I think it's in the melon, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
As much as anything, I think he's got a lot going on in his world, both positive things, negative things. But I think the golf is just too much for him right now. I think he can still win a major. I think he's gone 38 tournaments, majors now without winning. I think he's only 35, so there's still lots ahead of him. But this is a kick in the teeth, I think, the last couple of weeks for him.
Well, the majors are the Achilles heel. It's wild. Like there has to be some element of a mental hurdle that he can't get over, and that is even aside from the stuff that's going on off the course, what happened at the U.S. Open, and like he's got the game to win all 4 of them. Like it doesn't really matter. In contrast, we're not surprised that Tiger doesn't have the game to win one of these tournaments right now. And I'm not going to go all full Colin Montgomery here that he shouldn't be playing. Like, it's great just to see him there, but you think of baseball, there's fans of a certain age that will talk about Willie Mays playing for the Mets and just how it wasn't him. And it didn't tarnish his legacy, but it kind of put a bit of a sour taste on what was an amazing career. Does this change how you look at Tiger at all, given how he's playing in these final years?
I mean, it's hard to watch in certain circumstances. We've seen him play such great golf, and over the years, I've been there when he's won. I've been there when he's contended, when he's got the crowd. He still has the biggest crowds. Like, you go to a major this year, and he's still the number one draw when he's out there. But it is hard to watch, and he's only played 10 rounds of golf this year, competitive rounds of golf, so you can't expect him to be competitive, to be perfectly honest with you. He says he can get himself into better shape. He says he can come back. The next time he plays a major, he's going to be 49 years old, and his body is being held together by screws and duct tape and who knows what else. So I don't know. I think there's a point where you have to sort of decide if you want to keep playing because you think you can win, or you want to keep playing because you like it. Like Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer played the Masters till they were unable to play it. I don't know. I think there's some stuff ahead of Tiger right now, where he has to sit back and really think about what he's capable of doing.
The talk around a lot of the Canadian players, Bob, is, they've all won on tour. They're all accomplished players that have made a lot of money on tour, at least the top handful of them. And yet none of them have won a major. It's been since Mike Weir. Mike Weir is the only Canadian man to ever do it. We got 2 guys now in the top 15 here. We got Corey Connors tied for 7th at 1 under. Mackenzie Hughes tied for 13th at 1 over par. spitting distance to the lead. What do you make of their chances on the weekend?
They're legit. I think they really are. I think Corey is probably playing the best of the two of them. He has not hit it in a greenside bunker yet. I think that might be a record. So, yeah. And the good thing about Corey, we know that Corey can hit it straight off the tee. We know he can hit a lot of greens. It's always whether his putter's working. His putter is working this week. He's sunk a lot of par-saving putts. So I really do think that his chances are pretty good. He's stuck to a game plan, which may be a little bit conservative. I think if he wants to try and get in the hunt a little bit, he might have to step it up. He only hit 4 drivers today. So he might have to take a few more drivers and see what he can do. Mackenzie Hughes is all about putting right now. And also in his mind, he gets down on himself easily. And in today's round, he was sort of 3 over at one point. He said, I'm getting a little bit nervous, but then you realize you're still in it. I mean, It's not that far away. Everybody's going to be 3 over. Everyone's going to be more than 3 over. So I think both of those guys really have a good chance on the weekend.
Well, isn't it like watching Lowry today? Like you talk about everybody's going to have their bad moments. Everybody's going to have their tough stretches. Like he had the double bogey where he lost one in the gorse bush. Didn't want to find it. Someone found it.
Yeah,
and he took a double. What have you observed in sort of the necessity of sort of overcoming what is inevitably going to be coming your way, i.e., a bad moment?
He can have a short fuse. I've seen him sort of get a little heated at times, and he's actually said that one of the best parts about what happened on 11 was he didn't lose his cool. He just sort of said, all right. And there was a silly mistake that he made when he said, I'm going to hit a provisional. And he hit that provisional to about 5 feet. He could have hit a putt. But if he had said, okay, I'm abandoning the first ball, but he didn't say that. He said he's going to make a provisional. So that one in the gorse is still in play, just for all the rules geeks out there.
Because people are looking for it, even though he wishes they weren't.
Exactly. I've seen that happen a few times. It's so bad. But I think Lowry is, he's worked hard to try and get this, read this golf course. He played a few rounds 2 weeks ago. He's got good shots. He can hit it left. He can hit it right. He hits it pretty low, which you need to do with the wind. He's a real threat. He could won it before, obviously. His name's on that claret jug already.
Yeah, 2019 champion as Bob Weeks joins us. And speaking of major champions, Scotty Scheffler, he's in that stage right now where he goes in every major as the favorite, but maybe less so with the Open Championship than the other 3 this year. And I feel like he's having the most Scotty Scheffler kind of tournament where we're like, this is the 6th question we've asked you, and let's now get to the world number 1.
Yeah.
And what is he? He's -2 for the tournament, so 5 off the lead, so very much in the thick of things. And he just, the boringness of Scotty Scheffler is a recipe for success, isn't it?
It is. I mean, he's not playing his best golf yet. He's been playing pretty mediocre golf, and there he is at 2 under par. There's only 10 guys under par. So, I mean, when you consider that he's sort of got his B+ game maybe, and he's right there, if he gets a chance to turn it up on the weekend, then I think look out. But it is boring kind of golf, like he's not the fist pumping guy. He gets a few times he gets it going a little bit, but not that often. But we might see it if he makes a couple of early birdies. Especially if the wind changes direction, those first 6 holes are gettable. So we'll see.
What did you make of Bryson? Because, he reminded us at the U.S. Open of what a genius he is and what a unique individual he is with his equipment choices and many other things. And a lot of people said, hey, how can you not consider him one of the favorites here? And yet he's heading home on the weekend here at +9. Did you see that coming?
I kind of did.
Yeah.
Bryson hits a really high ball, and that's just going to get eaten up by the wind. It's pretty hard to play when you're hitting the ball. It's probably got the highest apex of any golfer in their golf shots. So I didn't really put a lot of stock into him. He is creative enough that he may have come up with some idea to do it, to change that, but I didn't really see that. Also, there's so many touch shots around these greens because there's runoff areas and you bump and run. And with that stance that he's got, where he's got everything, every club is the same length, and that putter is 8 feet right up the gut.
Yeah.
Those to me just don't say touch shots. I don't know.
I thought that about Pinehurst number 2, and he found a way around there.
He did, and he played an amazing bunker shot on the 72nd hole to win. So, but I just did not see him having a good one here this year. Anybody
else lurking there on that leaderboard that makes you think they could make some noise on the weekend? Yeah, you got obviously Justin Rose is a major winner.
Yeah, that's
Billy Horschel.
That's the name that jumped out at me because Justin Rose, of all those guys on the leaderboard, Justin Rose is the only guy who played in the afternoon today. He played in the worst weather, and he still played phenomenal golf. Now, he's not played stupendous this year. In fact, he had to go to qualifying to get into this.
Right.
He didn't have an automatic qualification here. He went for the 36-hole qualifying. I do like his chances as well. He's a grinder, and that putter is working well. That one he sunk on the 18th hole, a big curling putt to try and get in a birdie there. That was a beauty. So there's lots of there's still lots of, they were only halfway home here, so some guy could make a little push if they get out early and make a number tomorrow. But I think you got to be within, unless Lowry and a couple of guys come back, I think you got to be pretty close to the leaderboard, maybe 8-9 shots and somewhere like that to make a move.
Yeah.
Are these the kind of scores that the RNA wants? Like, if they look at the leaderboard and go, that's our tournament, that's what we want. Like, they can only, the weather forecast is what it is, but like they're not looking at that going, okay, maybe soften up this or change the pins to something a little easier. Like, they look at that and go, 10 players under par. That sounds about right.
I think they're pretty happy.
Yeah.
They get a little worried because and they've been one of the advocates of trying to reel the golf ball back in because those links courses are not really that long.
Mm-hmm.
They can't stretch them out too much. They've already got a tee at the old course that's actually out of bounds. They tee off from an out of bounds position on the 17th hole. So I think they love it. If the elements ever stop, that's their biggest worry. If it's not windy, if it's a sunny, calm day, we've been at some of those opens where the guys just start to go deep, but they can eat this place up. And they can do it in Troon. I mean, don't forget Henrik Stenson and Phil Mickelson were back here. I think they were like 18 or 19 or 20. They were 10 shots ahead of the third place.
Yeah.
So they like it. They like it like this. They like to see these guys battle.
Okay. We were just talking to Bianca about Olympic tennis. Are you anticipating Olympic golf in Paris?
Yeah, I am. I think it's going to be good. It's the interesting thing is it's a limited field, so there's only like 4 Americans in it, and I think the Canadian guys really. I mean, Nick's not playing great, but I think he'll get inspired. But Corey is the guy. Corey Connors, I think, really could do something, and Brooke Henderson, always going to be a threat for a medal.
Yeah, awesome. Bob, great having you in.
Good to be here.
Enjoy the rest of the Open Championship. Are you going to golf at all this summer?
I wish
you go to a lot of events.
I
see that, but it's a lot of like shaking hands and signing autographs.
It's like, this whole week I've been doing the Open, so I haven't played. Next week I'm at the Women's Open in Calgary.
Right.
Well, actually, Kara Wagland and I are going to take our golf clubs, we decided, so we're going to play a little.
I'm real shocked that Kara's bringing her golf clubs. Super Bowls, golf tournaments. She's always got them. That's awesome. Appreciate you coming up. Bye.
Appreciate it.
Awesome stuff. There's Bob Weeks on the Open Championship coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. Keegan Matheson on the Blue Jays kicking off their series against the Tigers as OverDrive continues on TSN 1050, up on TSN 4 and on the TSN app. Great having Bob Weeks in studio. Our coverage of the Open Championship on OverDrive is brought to you by Subaru Canada. Do it all summer long in a Subaru with the fully loaded summer event. Visit your local Subaru dealer to book a test drive today. We have Keegan Matheson coming up in the 5 o'clock hour as the Blue Jays kick off the unofficial start of the second half of the year. Lots of questions to get to them with the trade deadline and who's coming, who's going. And there's also a lot of questions with just day-to-day life today with this global IT outage and people's playing. Well, here's the biggest thing that affected sports. Kyle Opozo's public day with the Stanley Cup was canceled because the cup is stuck in St. Louis because of this global IT outage. I think it was in St. Louis with Matthew Tkachuk. And, all these, like, there's a lot of organization that goes into having these days. And so I assume that they're going to reschedule it. But Opozo, quote, "I'm crushed." When it came to the news. So there's Matthew Tkachuk with the cup. That was yesterday in St. Louis, as you're seeing on TSN 4. And
Matthew Tkachuk had some fun.
Yeah.
I saw some of the stuff on social media. He made a full day of it. Like, he did a lot of stuff. But
as you'd expect.
Tough day for the IT guys today, Mark. I tell you. It was like, you wake up and it's like, oh, nothing's working. No flights are being, taking off in some of the biggest hubs in North America. It was, an absolute mess. I mean, and apparently it was like one of these situations where it was a internet security thing that you couldn't sort of unleash from the top. You had to actually reboot every machine with a new update on it. So it took forever, right? Like, it wasn't something they could just, couldn't just implement a new piece of software, run it through the system and have everything back up and running in a couple hours. It took much longer than that.
Yeah, like, it's really been affecting people's lives, and it's going head-to-head with the news of the LCBO, which people thought the strike's over, and then maybe it's not over, and so those those are the kind of headlines that you're seeing on a Friday in the middle of the summer. That's the real, whether it's trying to get on a plane or trying to get your alcohol. Those are two things that are really hitting people as we kick off this weekend. And
6 Busch Light, 6 Bud Light, and I love them, tall boys.
That guy's waiting for the LCBO to open.
Well, Rick Bushwood knows the beer store's open, so what's he worried about?
That's true. Good point.
You can always get beer. It's just the spirits are tougher to come by.
Yes. The spirit of the Canadian basketball team, the men's team that is, looking pretty good. They're leading France at the moment without Jamal Murray, who is sitting out of this game, precautionary reasons. I guess he had to leave the team for a couple of days, and he is back with them now, but they just didn't want to take any risks. And they're playing France, who are in that group with Canada of they could medal. They're all probably fighting for a silver medal with how good the States are, but it's currently 71-61 Canada right now in the second half. So it's something we're tracking.
And look, the situation with Murray is a good reminder that I'm not going to talk about these teams until we see who shows up in Paris.
Yeah.
The idea that, we all thought Andrew Wiggins might be a part of Team Canada. He's not a part of Team Canada. We all assume Canada's going to have a great backcourt of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Jamal Murray. Mm-hmm. I'll believe it when I see it, okay? Because NBA teams are incredibly cautious about letting guys that might have a tweak or might not be fully healthy or might need a little more rest before the season. They don't want those guys playing. And Jamal Murray on a depth-challenged Denver Nuggets team that just showed you how desperate they are for depth because they just signed Russell Westbrook or traded for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
And they've lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and they had their first-round pick blow out a knee or whatever it was. Had a major injury. He's going to be out for the season. You think the Denver Nuggets want Jamal Murray taking a chance in Paris?
Okay.
If he's not 100% healthy. That's all I'm saying. And there's multiple guys on the U.S.
But you have to
team.
think that he's there now with them. Like at this point, is it like you can't turn back.
You can just not play if it's not feeling great, right?
Like what? He'll just be on the bench and cheer them on.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I know, but like, how bad of a look would that be?
Well, if he's not playing, if he's not healthy, it'll be another day in the NBA because that's what happens to the NBA.
Or are there indications he's not 100% right now?
I mean. Like he hasn't been 100% for most of his career.
Well, that is,
yeah. So that's all I'm saying is that, and this is coming. Like I'm talking to people around the NBA these past handful of weeks, and this is a sentiment I've been picking up is that, they look like they have a good roster. Like everybody thought Kawhi Leonard was going to be playing for Team USA a couple weeks ago. Now he's not. There's a lot of older players playing for Team USA that have had very difficult times playing 82 games. Mm-hmm. All people are saying is, wait till the ball goes up in Paris to say who's actually playing because the rosters are the rosters and who's actually going to show up and put in a decent night's work is another thing.
So with that in mind, how much stock do you put into the fact that Canada is currently leading France by 13 points?
That's a lot of stock. I think it's a good sign.
Right.
I think it's a really good sign.
Coming off I guess we can call it a blowout loss to the States, or at least one where they're competitive early on, and then the States, showed their depth. I think the depth really came through against Canada, and
same thing in the Serbia game with the States. Like the Serbia hung in early against the States, and then just couldn't hang late, and that's going to be the problem. But look, Canada looks good. Like I do think that. I mean, there was a lot of concern about Canada's size stacking up against a team like France. Obviously, they got two huge guys, and Rudy Gobert and Victor Wembanyama. But from what we've seen today, Canada's massive superiority on the perimeter is going to serve them really well. France doesn't have an answer to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, they just flashed his stats, 21 points right now.
He's making it look easy.
Yeah,
and he's commanding the game, and he's not even working that hard, from what I can tell. Look, Canada's got a great chance here. Let's not make any bones about it. If they can make shots, the shooting's going to be, a question mark. It always is at FIBA, and the size, whether a team that they're playing can exploit Canada's lack of size is the other question, and that'll come down to a little bit of coaching, a little bit of personnel, and a little bit of Canada's guards making up for the fact that they don't have great depth down the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild. 2000 was the last time they were in it, and it was Steve Nash's team, and in a way, it's Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's team, but the support is obviously like nothing Steve Nash had on that team, and what did they finish 7th, I believe, that year?
Had a nice run.
Yeah, got to the quarters.
Yeah, for sure. And Nash was, and this like people forget, like it was so long ago, and for those of us who lived through it. This was pre-MVP Steve Nash, right? This was Steve Nash as an NBA question mark. This was Steve Nash before he emerged as one of the great point guards of all time. And in a lot of ways, Nash has pointed out more than once that in some ways that run in Sydney and being a member of that team really helped him kind of find himself as a great point guard.
Yeah. And
kind of gave him the confidence that, I can be an NBA starter. I can be a top player at the world's top level. Because in part because of the experiences he had playing for Canada in FIBA competitions. So, I mean, Canada can hope that that's the case for some of these guys. Like we talked to Jama the other day, who's running the Raptors Summer League team, and he was talking about how the Raptors are hoping RJ Barrett.
I was just going to say that
can have an experience like Nash had in 2000, where the experience you have being a linchpin of your national team can carry into your NBA season, give you confidence, give you drive to be a linchpin of your NBA team.
Yeah, absolutely. Mailed In Fridays is brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. BP is serving fish bowls and ice cold pints on the patio all summer long. So grab your sunscreen and let's have ourselves a weekend. The Boston Pizza patio is calling. We'll be calling Keegan Matheson to kick off the 5 o'clock hour. He'll get us set for the Blue Jays series with the Tigers when Overdrive continues on TSN 1050 and up on TSN 4.